Hello and welcome to the Reading Your Soul podcast. Thanks for being here. Always a pleasure reporting from the Pioneer Collective in a sound booth. Check, check, 1, 2. I don't ask. Don't ask why half the things come out of my mouth, okay? I only bring this up because I'm in like this gray little like wool room. That might seem odd to some of you if you're listening on YouTube. So I just wanted to be able to comment on it. It's nice that the sound quality is really good. But I am excited for you to be here. And I'm excited to dive into today's topic because it's something I'm personally trying to incorporate in so many ways. And I have been really struggling with it, to be honest. And it's been coming up in different settings. And so I thought, you know what? F it. I'm going to talk about it on the podcast. And I'm going to talk about actually the yogic philosophies around it. I'm going to talk about Buddhism philosophies around it. And just my own journey with releasing control. And as someone who is, I like to think of myself as someone that's go with the flow. My family and friends may disagree with me on that. I think that I always say in comparison to a lot of people I know, I am so chill. But also I have a certain level of standard that I like to live my life in, and honestly just structure. So for me to be able to operate and do all the things that I do. So I'm pretty preventative. I'm very like calculated and organized in a lot of areas, because I know that that's necessary for me to be at ease. So I do all of this in order for me to be able to relax, but I also recognize the importance of surrender and presence and of trust. And I think that those are the areas that I'm really trying to access, and I want to emphasize within today's episode is like, how can you incorporate more trust? How can you incorporate a sense of surrender and allowing your life to flow with ease so that you don't feel like you have to grip and control every single thing? And one of the times that I've been in these situations, and it just leads to overwhelm. It leads to exhaustion. It leads to anxiety. And when I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, which is one of my favorite books, I've talked about it quite a few times on the podcast, because it's honestly a book that changed my perspective and how I looked at life, was that I realized the power of me trying to control everything, or me trying to preventively plan for, or think like, okay, if this person says this, how am I going to respond? Or if this goes wrong, how can I prevent that from occurring? And again, there's a certain amount of proactive behavior that's beneficial for work and for a lot of different things in life. But then there is this beauty of surrendering, a beauty of letting go, a beauty of allowing things to fall into place and recognizing that that's just important, and that balance is available to you if you're willing to access it. And when I read The Power of Now, I never will forget this quote: realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have, and make that the primary focus of your life. Literally, the only thing we absolutely, without a doubt, no way to disagree, no way to combat this. The only thing we have control over is what's going on in front of us right here, right now. That's what we have control over. We control how we can respond to people. We control how we show up, how we react to a situation, how we do take proactive measures in order to plan for the future, how we do show up for conversations, and how we do show up within our jobs and our careers and the tasks at hand. And when we do give that 110%, the beauty of that and the possibility of what we can create from that is incredible. And so that's what I really wanted to talk about, is like, how can we take steps in order to support ourselves to be able to be more present, and to be able to focus and trust that everything is panning out, and trust ourselves enough to know that whatever we're doing in that moment is what's the priority and what needs to be completed. And then we trust the next moment to present itself, and trust the next moment. And then we keep walking forward with this, kind of honestly a faith of the divine, and that everything is panning out the way it is, as long as we continue to trust ourselves. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay. Self-trust and letting go of things is one that is honestly probably been the biggest hurdle that I've had to overcome within this whole philosophy and concept. To trust myself enough to know that I will know what to do when the time comes, to trust myself enough to know that whatever I am focusing my energy and time on is what's most important, is something that how I'm handling a situation is available. And I think that so much of it is just this letting go of the perfectionism, letting go of the guilt, the responsibility of others, letting go of this need to be able to do everything and people please and keep everyone afloat and keep everything aligned, and to just be only responsible for what's actually in front of us in that moment, and be responsible ultimately just for us, because we can't control everyone else. We can't control how people react. We can't control how we're perceived. And people pleasing and not taking things personally, one of the four agreements, is so key within that. Like, what other people do is not because of you, and there's nothing you can do to control that, because even if you do everything right, people could still perceive you differently than what you intended. So you got to let it go. And that's just one thing that I've really struggled with. It's not something that comes naturally to me. But once I do shift that, once I did start to even just become aware of it, the amount of like satisfaction that I had with life, and the less worrying and just concerns and just like manifesting things that don't actually matter, like the beauty that came with that. Like, we manifest our lives, we create our lives, and like there's so many different perspectives we can take, but what we're going to focus our energy and time on is what's going to expand. There's actually a psychological concept, and it's the reticular activating system, and it's like to reinforce that there's so many different stimuli within our environment that our brains can honestly only keep track of certain things, and it's usually what we're focused most on and what's essential for survival. So like, if you ever think of like that confirmation bias of like, you look for a car and you're like, oh, that's a really cute car, I kind of want to get one, and then you start noticing that car everywhere, and it's like it comes up all the time. It's like your attention is searching for it, and then you're receiving confirmation of it. So what are you focusing your reticular activation system on? What are you getting confirmation of? What are you reinforcing within your perspective and within your life? Is it the things that you want? Is it things that you're working towards? Or is it things that are quite the opposite? You know, like one of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein is that worrying is a misuse of your imagination. Our imagination can be used in so many different ways. And like, when we're actually in that more kind of like creative state and using our imagination in more of that dreamlike state, that's when we think of possibilities. That's when we think of new opportunities. That's where we think of new realities. And we have to be able to be in that state in order to create, you know, a new version of who we want to be, or what our life's, what we want that life to look like. And so, and then we find confirmations to be able to reinforce it, and being able to use our imaginations for what we want instead of what we don't want is a beautiful thing. And that's how we actually then start to attract those realities within our lives. And that's brain science, that's manifestation, that's quantum physics, all of it come together. And so when I'm talking about this, when it's relinquishing control, because I want you to recognize what you do have control over. What you do have control over is what you spend your energy and time on. And so like shifting your awareness to that, and also being intentional about what those things are, gives you the opportunity to be able to take back some of that energy that is probably leaking in areas that it doesn't need to. And when I want to look at this from a yogic lens, it's like we have control over certain things. And if we focus our tapas, our effort towards those things, then we actually give ourselves the position to be able to release control from there, Aparigraha. And that's releasing attachments to what the results may be. And that's to be able to say like, okay, I'm going to do as much as I can. This is what I do have control over. And now I'm going to shift, and I'm going to say, I've done everything I could. Let's put it up to the divine. Let's trust. Let's divine into that divine plan. And when we allow ourselves to kind of relinquish the control from that point, then we have a little bit of faith. And I think more often than not, the universe could actually pan out even better than what we could have ever imagined. And I've noticed that in my life firsthand, that when I put on all of this energy forth, and I do it with joy. You know, I try to be able to put effort towards things that actually light me up, that make me happy, that I feel like I'm contributing to the world and making it a better place. Then I don't have any expectations of anything in return. And that's really hard. And I know for me personally, within relationships, that's the hardest one for me to be able to maintain, because I want to be able to say I'm putting effort into something and then I'm actually getting something back. And that's what I'm personally then focusing on relinquishing control of, is that I cannot control someone else. I can't control how they respond. I can't control what they do. I can't control how they react. But what I can control is what I'm putting forth and what I'm doing, and also the boundaries that I'm willing and able to set. So I can decide if there's a certain point where I've done too much, or there is a point to where I feel like they're not treating me with respect or consideration. I can choose to remove myself from that. And when I take that control back, then that's my opportunity to do so without any preconceived notions of how they should respond or how they should reply. It's not up to me. And I think that that's something that's harder for me to do, but it's definitely something I'm learning more and more about. And I think that there's a contentment, there's a peace that comes with that. Because instead of me experiencing frustration or exhaustion from continuously putting in control, I allow what must be will be. It's one of my favorite quotes from Bob Marley, what must be will be. And it's like, what reminder, like, whatever is meant for you won't pass you. Whatever is meant for you won't leave you. But you have to be able to lean back and receive that. And, even practicing a posture, a yogic posture, they always say there's sukham and there's sthira. Sthira. And sthira is the strength. It's the foundation. It's the energy and the effort that we're putting for something. It's the foundation we're working from. But then there's just as much sukham. There's just as much ease and balance to be able to have a little bit more of that playful nature, to be able to soften within a posture. And that's where we find the balance of what each posture should embody and should resemble within our lives. And we carry our practice, our yogic practice, into the real world. And even within meditating or, anything, it's like you can put in the effort of clearing your mind, creating the structure around following your breath. But then at the same time, it's like there is a certain amount of letting go that has to occur. If you're clenching your breath, you're going to send yourself into that more fight and flight mode. And then we're going to stress ourselves out and our cortisol is going to spike. Bringing ourselves into a more relaxed state, into our parasympathetic nervous system, we give ourselves the opportunity to find ease, to relax, to slow down, and to trust that that time allotted for whatever we're doing is exactly what we're intended to do. What's in front of us, the now, that's all that needs to be paid attention to at that point in time. That's all that needs to be, what was I going to say? That's all that needs to be tended to at that point in time. That's what I wanted to say. So there is this kind of faith that comes along with that. And they even say, like, if you have a prayer within Christian religion, and honestly within a lot of religions, it's like setting a prayer and putting it to God or whatever, that universal Allah, whatever you want to put it towards, and then trusting that it will be taken care of. It's like leave your wants and your needs to the divine in whatever facet and however you view that divine entity within your life. And when you allow that to happen and you trust that it will happen, then you feel like you're divinely supported. And again, if you ask someone to do something for you and you ask for support from family or friend or whoever's in your life, your spouse, and then you trust for them to do it, you're trusting that they will handle it and that you are supported and that you are have something around you where you don't have to do it all on your own. And I think the more that we lean into that trust, the more that we lean into the support in whatever capacity that it may appear within your life, then we loosen the load of ourselves. And the fear and uncertainty of past trauma, of feeling like, that desire for stability, that desire to want to feel supported, especially if, in the past that necessarily hasn't been the case, can be practiced over time. It might not be instant, it might not be automatic, but there's an opportunity to continue to build this. And I think, having people that you trust and that continuously show up for you and do embody this idea of dependability is amazing. And it gives us the opportunity to be able to recognize that we're not in this on our own. And also, there's a choice and there's a chance for us to be able to, put out some prayers, trust that they will come your way, trust that you deserve them to arrive. And when they do come, write it down, keep track of those miracles that would come up in life. I'm actually wearing one of my necklaces is a diamond necklace that I found on the floor. So I had put it out there. I was like, total manifestation thing. I was like, oh, I was like, what? Everyone's like, oh, what do you want for your birthday? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, a diamond necklace. That's what I kept saying. I really want a tennis chain all the way around. Anyways, anybody out there want to get one of those for me, I would welcome it. But I really want a full diamond tennis necklace and bracelet. And I just have always wanted one. I just think they're so very classic. It's just so beautiful and also just baller. So I've always wanted one. And I was like, I want a diamond necklace for my birthday. This was a couple years ago. And so I kept joking around about it. And everyone's like, do you want it? And I was like, yeah, I want this diamond necklace. But it was like, I didn't expect it. There wasn't a scarcity mentality around it. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to get a diamond necklace for my birthday. That's what I want. And I was like laughing about it. And then lo and behold, I'm walking across the street. I see a glimmer of light. I'm like, oh, that's weird. What's on the ground over there? Bitch, it was a fucking diamond necklace. I like picked it up. It was in the middle of the street. I like looked around. I was like, okay, I guess I could like try to turn this in somewhere, but where would I even turn it in? This doesn't even make sense. And the universe gave me a diamond necklace. I got a diamond necklace. So like, trust, put the intention out there, trust to receive it, and you might be surprised where it comes from. You know? Like, let go of control, let go of this. I could have like stressed myself out, tried to find a diamond necklace, like overextended myself by purchasing one on my own, or I could trust that I would receive it. Like, there's so much beauty in that. There's so much of leaning into our divine feminine nature within that. Like, I just really hope that you kind of open yourself up to this idea of faith, to this idea that you are supported within the universe, within God, within whatever divine source you believe in, and to receive some blessings that come your way from that. And there's a simple prayer, and it's really is the act of letting go. I hand over what I cannot hold, guide me. Like every morning I pray, and I put out a prayer for gratitude. It's my meditation plus prayer. And I pray that, I do a prayer at the beginning. From what I've read, prayer is like when you're talking to God or the divine, and then meditation's when you're receiving insight from the divine, you're clearing your mind for it. So it's like a 50-50 thing that I do in the morning. So first thing is I put out gratitude for all the things I'm already grateful for. And then I forgive myself for things that have come up. I ask for forgiveness. And then I also then, open myself up like how can I be guided? But I also say, can I be a conduit for love in all that I do today? Please guide me in an opportunity to be a conduit for love within this world. And that allows me to be able to relinquish something, control that I'm going to know every person I'm going to talk to, that I'm going to know exactly what to say, when to say it, and that I'm going to preemptively be able to plan and integrate all of that into my life. Or I can just trust that when the opportunities arise within my life, that I will be aware of them, I will be able to respond accordingly to them, and that I will be able to show up in the way that I'm intended to. And then there's a lot of ease that comes along with that, because I'm relinquishing the control that I'm going to have to do it all on my own. I cannot do it all on my own. And there is such a power that comes from that when you bring it back into what you do have control over and put 100% effort into that. And there's, this ideas of people pleasing, trying to over control, that creates anxiety. And then when we let go, we notice what falls away. We notice who steps away. We notice what truly belongs. And there's a belief and trust that comes along with that. And again, within relationships, it's one of those things. I tend to clench. I tend to try to control. I try to keep it all together. And it's like, I don't need to do that. And there's a greater plan at play. So to trust myself and to trust in the divine to be able to bring that to me. There's a few little practices that you can do to help just incorporate this within your life. Even inhale, I trust myself. Exhale, I trust the divine. Inhale, I trust myself. Exhale, I trust the divine. To be able to notice when feelings of uncertainty, of low self-esteem, of to be able to align with this idea of what is meant for me will be there. I trust my plan is perfectly unfolding. What must be will be. Be here now. All these little affirmation, all these little reminders are things that I do in order to loosen the grip, to be able to allow my life to unfold a little bit more playfully than me feeling like I have to do it all. And there's also a cord cutting exercise that I will mention, but I would say there's a lot of them out there. Chris Corsini, he's an astrologer. He has an incredible different cord cutting ceremony. If you haven't heard of him, I would definitely look him up. He does sign language for all of astrology readings. I just adore him for it. But he also has an incredible cord cutting ceremony. So if you have some clenching that you're still doing within a relationship, or even within a friendship that you're still holding on to, that you kind of know that isn't really serving you or the other person anymore, this can be a great way to be able to help sever ties with that person, but from a place of love and from a place of compassion. And even just placing your hand on your heart, I release control. I am free. I am free from having to be able to uphold everything in my life. And the lightness and the weight that can be lifted off of your shoulders from those simple acknowledgments, from those simple affirmations, from these different types of ritualistic practices, in order to be able to create space to be able to relinquish the need to do it all by yourself is really beautiful. And I think it really uncovers the natural support that you do have in your life, the people who are showing up, and the guidance that's already available to you. And when we prioritize the now, when we kind of release the personalization of other people's action and surrender control, we soften the grip and we create space for presence, for release. And I think that that's what equates to freedom. And I really do believe that when we let go of that control, it creates clarity, it creates space within our mind, this need, this worry, this idea that we're going to have to pay attention to everything and everyone, otherwise it'll all come tumbling down. Like, we can actually then again reallocate energy towards the things that we do have control over, and we can let go some of that need and almost like stress that comes along with it all. And that gives us more peace. And I think that that's what we're all seeking. We're all seeking a little bit more peace. And, there's a lot of trauma that comes when, we didn't have things taken care of. And it was a survival technique that we had to uphold everything. But sometimes we create survival mechanisms and defense mechanisms in times of war, of times of trauma, of times of struggle. But when our lives change and when our lives shift, then we can reevaluate which ones are actually needed still, which ones do we need to carry forward, and which ones can we let go of in order to create a harmonious life. And one of my other favorite quotes by Eckhart Tolle is, whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. Because whatever moment's happening in front of you is happening for a reason. So the more that we relinquish the need to resist it, the more that we find acceptance within it, and the more then we can work with it instead of against it. And then the less resistance we have within our lives all around. And the less we resist what's going on and what's occurring right in front of us, the more that we learn from it, the more that we flow with it, the more that we grow with it. And there's so much beauty in that. And then we can actually align our lives with probably what was intended for us, but we might not have been fully aware of or even able to receive because we just weren't letting it come our way. Right? Like, I was just thinking of like a relationship that I was still clenching onto. And I was like, I don't want this relationship. So why am I clenching onto it? I'm just trying to control it. I'm just trying to keep it because for some reason I feel like if I keep it, then I'm the one that's choosing it. No, let it go. It's not meant to be here. Release it. Create space for what is. There's so much beauty in that. There's so much beauty in finding acceptance. There's so much beauty in letting things go, from a place of compassion, from a place of love, and then allowing whatever is meant for you to come your way. So I open up all of this, just ideas, concepts, philosophies, in order to see how they show up within your life. And I would love to hear what has come up and what are some personal reflections that have come to the surface, and some journaling exercise that you can incorporate if you're kind of toying around with this in your life is maybe even just writing down at the top of your page, a piece of paper, your journal, what am I controlling in my life that I don't need to anymore? That simple question, see free write with that and see what comes up. And again, there might be some nastiness, there might be some shame, there might be some past trauma and hurts that come up to the surface. Write it all out, release it, let it go. Sometimes even what we're holding on to could be past pain, things where we are trying to protect ourselves from situations that have occurred in the past that we're recreating in the future because we can't let go of them or the story or their narrative around them. Let them go. This can come up in so many different ways, and I'm just curious to see how it comes up in your life, and hopefully the lightness and the ease and the freedom that comes along with it when you start to let go of the need to control every single part of your world, because you don't need to, and you are supported. Lovely lady, gentlemen, them, whatever you identify with, I love you. I hear you, I see you, and I'm so excited that you listen. Thanks for tuning in, and I will speak with you very soon. See you on the gram at Ferrashino, Ferrah Shino. And that's also my website, www.ferrashino.com. If you want to set up a consultation or work with me on worthiness and creating space and habits to be able to support you and the life that you're trying to create, I would love to work with you. See you soon.